Hi there, and thank you very much for coming out at 4:30 on a very busy day to hear us talk to these experts on the gaming journey. What is it like to have this, idea for a game, and then, my gosh, you got to start somewhere. Where do you start? And is it like a smooth journey, or is it like a journey with a lot of bumps? Okay, it's a rhetorical question. I get it, but it's what we're going to be talking about today. Kind of that hero's journey of going from game concept to actual production game. And we've got some great experts here. Igor Karev, the CEO of Tatem Games, he's right over here. And they've got Carnivore Dinosaur Hunter, Ice Age, and more recently Dream Gym, which is actually doing very well. Really happy to hear about that. We've got Andre, and Andre is the CEO of Leo del Sol. And he's got Puzzle-Rama, and he's got this amazing new Mazes and More game that is kind of cool because it's got this dark mode, and he can tell you more about this really cool dark mode and enemy mode and everything. Next to him, we have Daniel Stammler. He is the CEO of Fluffy Fairy Games. Fluffy Fairy Games may not sound like it, but I think their big hit is Idle Miner. And Idle Miner has done actually really incredibly well. So incredibly well that you've increased the size of your company, I think like 1,000% or more in the last 12 months. Okay, the numbers actually go from like 2 to, but anyway, it's a cool percentage. And Carina we've got from Crashware Games, yes?
Crashwave, yeah.
Crashwave Games. And they've just released a new Viking simulator that's coming out, Iron Tide. And so we'll be talking about the journey that these heroes took to get there. I'm your moderator, Mike Hines. I work for Amazon, and I'm just thrilled to be up here with them. So why don't we go ahead and get started by just talking about what's the process that you guys use to develop new games? I mean, if you have a process, is it really strict, flexible, or what process?
I can start. So at my company, I'm a CEO and a founder. I always want to be very strict, with my team, to have a process, to have timelines, budgets, but it never worked for me and for the company itself. And actually, we launched our first game in 1997. It was called Chasm with the G Interactive for PC, and we were working I was very young, and I was, okay, so we need to be strict. We need to have a schedule. We need to have meetings to discussing everything. And it was like, the process when we developed the game from game to game. And when we went to mobile in 2002, it was more like fun. We wanted to try working not with a publisher, but ourselves. And we have no schedules. We just play the game. We feel that it's good, and we did different iterations. And when we in 2009 moved to iOS games, we wanted to have and to keep the same style, to keep the game fun to play for yourself, and then it should be ready and should be engaged for other players. So I would say no.
Do you get Carina? Do you have a pretty strict process for the game you designed that you actually stuck to?
This is our first independent game, so the process has been quite fluid, although we do have some rules. So we look at analysis, we look at the platform, we try to guess the timing of what is right. So Vikings is a really interesting genre for us to kind of crack open. We look at the mechanics of what we want to achieve. And then the last thing we do is we create, we incubate, and then we recreate or reiterate.
So are you going to follow that same process on your next game?
Maybe.
Okay, now why maybe? What part of that process wasn't absolutely brilliant?
Our design process could have been a lot smoother. It's our first independent game, so of course we're going to have a lot of ups and downs. And I think for us, we really enjoy the incubating stages where we could get out there and test our game and watch the reactions and kind of reassess, come back and redo something, so reiterate. But I think for timing and length purposes, I would like to maybe not reiterate as much.
Iteration?
Yeah, so iteration is a really big thing for us. we believe like in the rapid iteration thing. So what we actually do is like putting one update out every week and just implementing new stuff to the game. So we try to be as fast out in the market as possible with a new game, and this also means that like the game is far from perfect. So with Idle Miner, actually our first version didn't even have in-app purchases in it, because we just wanted to figure out if the game actually works, and we didn't want to monetize like in the first weeks or months. But obviously, like if you want to earn some actual money, you need to iterate, you need to add new stuff all the time. And people love it. Like our players, they know that there will be a new update in a week or in 2 weeks, so they keep playing only to get the new content.
So, Andre, how easy is it for a company like yours to follow that kind of iterative process? Because most of your content isn't programmatic. Your content is handcrafted puzzles.
Yes, we don't fix a schedule for our games, so we also do a lot of iterations. Yes, we don't have a Gantt to the process of the game.
But actually, what I can add that there's two kind of like a process before the game goes live, so you can you can afford to do different delays because you want to polish as much as possible, and then when they go live and you have to update your game constantly, and the players are waiting, and your monetization depends on that. That's actually going to be a more strict process for us, at least.
Yes, we listen a lot to our players. We see the comments of the people say, and we make changes based on that comments.
Really?
Yeah, we actually do this as well, and I think it's like so important because at one point players love you for doing it, and the other thing is like they actually help you to figure out what to do next. And if you have like 100 people asking you for a certain feature, it's probably a good idea to implement it.
We also respond to some of these comments, so people know that we are listening to them.
Yeah, we have a turn-based tactics game, so we noticed that our players, we do more rebalancing than we do reiteration. When we change something and it's like a big deal, players get really upset. So for example, our game, it's a roguelike, which means that there is an element of permadeath in there, and we noticed players were dying a lot, and so we listened to them, and they were telling us, oh, this game is too hard. And so we implemented a difficulty setting, easy, medium, and hard. And even that kind of caused an uproar for us. So we wish we had that insight from the beginning.
Now, if you had done a different development model, say a fast fail model, or maybe you come up with an idea and within 7 days you create a prototype. Would changing kind of your development approach and modeling that way have helped, or would that not have given you the input you needed?
Our process was actually kind of interesting for us. We did a paper prototype. So we took dice and paper and we cut it out, and we actually went to a Magic the Gathering store, and we sat down with some players in the back of the room, and we just tested the game, and we gauge the responses from that. So for us to go back and kind of do a prototype in 7 days, it's possible, yeah.
Yeah, for us actually, the process of prototyping is quite interesting because recently we had quite interesting experience spending like 3 months on prototype, and then it was absolutely unclear for the company or for the partner. We showed the game, and then we started to build quite the same prototype in PowerPoint presentation. We spent only 1 week describing step by step what the player have to do in the game. It's like describing the tutorial, the core loop, etc. And it was more useful for a third party to understand what's going on rather than spend 3 months, money and time to build it almost the same. I think we will use the same approach for our next steps. So we actually have during the prototype, before even we do the prototype, I also involved in the game design process, and I asked my producers to build a pitch describing all the elements in the game. So the core loop, the fun factor, monetization necessary should be described just at the beginning, and then we probably do the presentation, describing almost the same but in more wide ways, and probably the third step is going to be just engineering.
But a game like Carnivore is so different from an idle clicker. How does your process work?
So for us, like, speed is everything. We had 2 months to develop Idle Miner Tycoon because we set us the deadline ourselves. And so I think the most important thing is to just focus on like the core loop and let everything out of the game so you can actually be fast. And yeah, so some people describe it as like organized chaos because we don't have like strict planning or anything at all, but in the end it somehow still works. And you always have the feeling that you're at the right position in the process, but we don't have like any process documentation or anything. So it's more like 2 months, and at the end we will release whatever we have done.
Okay, so actually, audience, this is for you guys. How many, just for a show of hands, how many consider your game more casual than hardcore? Okay, more hardcore than casual? I'm assuming the rest of you don't have a game. That's fine. So for the more casual gamer, it sounds like kind of that rapid iterative process seems to kind of be the rule. If you guys were all kind of doing more of a casual game, is that the method that you would take, kind of a faster prototype, faster fail model?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, yes, we do a lot of iteration. We tend to have a prototype in about a week, a very simple prototype with little assets as possible. And we ourselves are the one to test the prototype, and we iterate, and until we see that it's good.
Okay, Igor, Carina, you guys have more involved games. And I gotta know, how did you plan, or how did you decide what your monetization mechanic was going to be? Was it just sort of assumed it was going to be IAP, or how much thought or research did you put into that?
Right. So our team is relatively small, so we knew that we could get away with just premium. We don't have the infrastructure to support in-app purchases. So for us, it made a lot of sense for us to just go straight onto Steam and do the premium model and go from there.
So in that case, it wasn't really an econometric model. It was, we just don't have the resources.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, for us, we launched our first game in 2009. There were no free-to-play games, right? So it was just a premium, and we had no other options just to have a paid version on the App Store. After a few months, we launched a free version to convert into paid version. So then we launched the games, like the Carnivore was our second game we launched, and it was a port of PC game from 1998. And then it was the same time for just premium versions. And because it was port, it was quite difficult to make so many changes because the tech was developed previously by my team a long time ago. But for now, we are mainly focused on in-app purchases only for free-to-play games, and we never discussed in the studio any premium games anymore. We took a lot of attention into ad monetization because we see it really grows really well. And I just read the report recently that from it probably that even ad revenue for now count the same for in-app purchases.
Did you already try it out in your games with ad revenue?
Can you repeat the question?
Like, did you try it already with ads?
Yeah, sure. And actually, we had a great conversation yesterday with other developers who are monetizing through in-app purchases only, and they have a hardcore game, and they don't touch advertising at all, ads at all. And I said, why? Well, why it is so? Because I made a mistake in the Carnivore's game. We were like a premium. We had a free version. And for the Carnivores, as an example, we have around 30 million downloads worldwide on all platforms, Amazon including. And I never touched ads because I was sure that the ads can, interrupt the gameplay process. The users won't be happy. But now we see the formats like a rewarded video, for example, right, which can really help, and it never broke the experience, and even sometimes the paid users will be really happy to get something more, some extra, just spending 30 seconds of their time.
So what we see is that actually the paid users are the ones that watch the most ads because they are super engaged with the game. So I think it's not either ads or in-app purchases, but you can get your users to do both at the same time.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, in our case, our games are focused mostly on casual players, and casual players don't like to spend much money on our games. About 95% of our revenues come from ads, banners, interstitials, and in-app purchases is as low as 5%.
Putting in-app purchases into a game and coming up with an economy and building that out seems like an awful lot of work for 5%. Is that something you would continue doing, or?
Well, it's not very hard to do in-app purchases on games, yeah, and it's kind of like an experiment. We see how many people purchases our games, and we still see that we are making a decent amount of money with in-app purchases, so we still don't need.
Well, Mazes and More has what, 6 million downloads?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So okay, so the volume that you're getting from ads is actually fairly substantial.
Yes.
Before you had 6 million downloads, were you still pretty happy with your monetization mix?
Well, no, but we didn't have any popular games right now, so our games previous to Postorama and Mazes and More didn't have more than 100,000 downloads, so we were making any money without ads or in-app purchases. So we were not very happy with that.
And so what did you do? I mean, I imagine that, well, myself and maybe even a couple of people in the audiences haven't hit 6 million downloads for their game yet. So what do we do?
First, to decide what kind of games are we going to make, we spend a lot of time analyzing the market. We see the market and we find niches. For example, for Mazes and More, we saw that the market was crowded with a lot of maze games, and they have a decent amount of downloads, but they were not really good at this. So we thought, let's make the best maze game at the market, for the market.
That was a risky move. I mean, now how much of this, so that wasn't your first game. Puzzle Rama was your first game.
No, Mazes and More was our first successful game. Then
Okay.
came Puzzle-Rama. Yes.
So Mazes and More helped support the development of Puzzle Rama.
Yes.
And how did you choose a monetization model for that second game? Did you know that you could kind of lean on the revenue coming in from Mazes and More?
Yeah, well, we didn't have much of a strategy for monetization. We knew that most of our revenue come from ads, so we mostly focus on ads.
Outstanding. That's good. I normally get a lot of IAP responses, but just over the last year, I've started to get a lot more revenue from ads generating money. So obviously some change has been happening in the ads world that helps you make more money from ads than from in-app purchasing. What's working for you guys?
I wanted to
By the way, you should all turn your cell phones off. I should have made an announcement about that. Please go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask the same question: what ad formats was best for you? Because for us, for sure, for last time, the rewarded video works really well, and we're starting to try different placements to interact users, because for now it's quite simple. Only one place we teach people how to interact with. So, for example, in gym game, we have TV set, and people place the TV set on their gym fitness studio, and they have a quest. They have to watch the video. They get a reward, but also they have a second reward for doing this quest.
So for us, actually, rewarded video ads work the best, and we only use rewarded video ads now. The reason for that is that we don't want to annoy our players. Like, interstitials are so annoying. If you get an interstitial like twice a day, you will probably quit the game at some point. On the other hand, with rewarded video ads, like if we have a technical issue with them, our players will contact us and ask us why they can't watch any ads. So the cool thing is, if you do this in a good way, people will actually like and enjoy watching ads.
It's true, because we got in comments the same. Can you add more video ads? Because we want to earn more.
So can I just cut in here?
Yeah.
So my background is in casual games, so I'm feeling a little bit out of my element here because we no longer use in-app purchases when we go to Steam. But in the past, what we found worked for us, and maybe this is old information at this point, but video ads are really good, so I think all three of you are doing really awesome work. And then we also tried like real rewards. So when a player comes in, they can play for a set amount of time, gain a currency, and then maybe take that currency to a third-party app and get a reward.
So it sounds like some of the ads that are really working for you guys, like rewarded videos, almost mandate that you have to have an IAP economy of some sort in order for that reward to avoid another expense.
Actually, I think this is the complete wrong approach. I think it's super important to have your ads not compete with your in-app purchases, because then people will be like, I can watch free ads or spend $1, but you need them to be like, I'm going to spend $1 and watch free ads. So you shouldn't give the same reward for ads as for in-app purchases.
Thoughts?
The same reward?
No, you should not give the same reward.
Yeah. And how the implementation? I mean, how, for example, like if you look at Dragon City, for example, they have a special island. It's called like a freebies. When you tap the island, it's the pop-up message show you have an option for offer wall and rewarded video. And how do you have any practices or did you experience any other ways how you can, to add more ad places in the game and what works?
So I think one important lesson for us here was that it needs to be included like in the core loop, or it needs to fit your game. So there's no solution that fits every game. So for idle games, like there are some things that work all the time. Like one is double your offline income, one is double your online income. And with those two placements, we're getting like 80% of impressions already. But they might not fit for other types of games.
So how many of you guys out there are currently using or planning on using not just banner ads, but things like rewarded video ads? Anyone? Okay, so here's a question for everyone who didn't raise their hand. Yeah, I found a way to pick on you guys. I just want to hear from one of you guys, why not rewarded video in your apps or games? Anyone want to volunteer something? Yeah, go ahead.
I think the kind of ads depends on the kind of game. For example, in our games, I don't think that rewarded video ads are going to be useful because our games are not based on lives. You don't continue with our puzzles, you just play the puzzles. You don't have lives. So it's not suitable to have video ads.
You can get hints, though.
Yes, on our games, we give hints when players level up. We have a level system of our games, and when the players level up, they win a hint for free.
And did you guys make any tests in terms of placements, for example, or what works best, worst?
Yeah, so we tried some placements out, and we figured that there are some placements that are not worth it for the player to watch ads. And our lesson there was you actually need to give the players something to watch the ad. Like if they feel like the reward is not enough to watch a 30-second video, then they're not going to do it. If they feel it's enough, they will probably watch the ad.
Did you try non-rewarded ads, like interstitials or banners?
No, not really, because we really don't like the experience ourselves in other games, so we didn't do this from the beginning.
Carina, you've mentioned a couple times that having a small team has kind of impacted game design decisions for you. That kind of brings up the question of, build or buy when you come to this roguelike Viking game? I mean, you've got a back end. You've got. I mean, are you going to build all of this yourself? When do you do that? When do you send the work out?
Right, that's a great question. So we look at that objectively. We try to look at what the value is to us. So we can build the infrastructure of our game, and we have a formula that we can use to ship. But for example, in Canada, where I come from, we have this thing called SHRED, and it's called the Scientific Research and Experimental Development Fund. So you can get up to 60% of your revenue back. So for us, that would be exciting, and that's an option that we can pursue, and that rewards us for putting the time and effort into building something that is unique. But there are times where we have to kind of say we want to launch this game in 2 years, because we're a PC, so it takes a bit longer for us. 2 years. What can we objectively get in there? And if we do outsource, or if we do find a third party, what is their value add to us?
How often do you go through the process of getting bids for things like that? Have you ever had competing providers bid for your business?
We get them every once in a while, but we're completely independent, so all the power to us. And we're pretty selective at that point, and we like garnering personal connections. Obviously, we went into games for the passion and less about the money, but obviously the money is worth it too. But right, guys?
Yeah,
You guys are talking about IAPs, and you must be thinking about money as well.
It's fun to eat, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely fun to eat. So for us, that.
Did you actually try to outsource something and then decided to stop it and do it yourself at some point?
You know what? We're kind of stubborn that way. I'm going to be honest. We want to do everything ourselves, but there were some things that we just physically could not. Like, we are not animators, 3D modelers, we're not particle effect coders, we are not all those things. We are designers, we're programmers, and we can do some art. So with those resources, there were things that we wanted to look pretty, so we did outsource, like, the ocean that you sail upon. I think that was mostly all we used. Yeah, we used, everything else was by ourselves.
Wow. Guys, build, buy?
Yeah, so actually for us, and as I said, when we developed our first PC shooter game, there were no technologies in the market, and we started to build ourselves, and unfortunately, it was making a habit for us. So the first mobile game we developed, there were also lack of technologies, and we built it on our own. And then it was, the idea, okay, let's build a tech, so we can make games. And it was probably the biggest mistake I've made when I listened to my lead engineer, and I said yes, because when I asked them to port the version into Android, they said, okay, we need like 6 months. I said, okay, let's do the math. How much is it going to cost us? And when we moved everything into Unity and when we work on the technologies, for now, I would prefer to use as much third-party services as possible because it's we're not a technology company, and we are the gaming company. And I would say, like a gaming and a service company, we want to provide the best services for our players to entertain them, right? And we need to spend more time to think about the graphics, for example, for new content or new game mechanics. But we don't need to spend time on the technology or the server side. So for now, we are choosing the approach just to use third-party services.
Igor, that's pretty bold, saying for a video game developing company to say that you're not a technology company.
Well, yeah, but because for me, as a technology company, like Unity or Unreal, who build the technology for others, right? We are. I was not wrong saying that for now, we are making like games when we need to support, we need to update constantly. Like the guys are releasing updates every week, and this is as a service for the people who playing our games every day, and we need to keep it keep it running, and we need to be focused just on that.
Daniel, are you a technology company?
Yeah, I would say so. So we're very technology heavy, but it's still pretty hard to decide like what to do yourself and what not. We had the same issue, like we could build our own analytics. Our developers would love to build our own analytics, but in the end, it's probably not such a good idea to do it yourselves. And I mean, with analytics, it's pretty clear, but there are things like back-end where it's really hard to decide if you want to do it yourself or not. Because if you want to do it, you probably need to hire like 5 more developers, let them do it for like 6 months until there's something you can actually use. Or you can go to some third-party service and use it already. So we decided to go with PlayFab. And but still, it's like we hoped it will be like plug and play, but it's not. You still need to put much effort into figuring out how to work with them, how to configure the service until it actually works. So, yeah, it's a hard question.
Well, in my case, my profile is very technological. I'm a programmer. I am not an artist. So I spend a lot of time analyzing all the tools the market have. And I think that I have to use the right tool for the right game. In my case, my games are very simple in 2D. If I use Unity on this game, it's like an overkill because Unity is special for 3D games, not 2D.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that the analytics was a really good example. It really depends on where we want to take our company in the future. So does having analytics, as our own sole propriety, is that really something that we need? Is that going to help us in our end goal? And if not, then it might just be a good idea if we were considering it to go with like PlayFab like you. So I mean, I would want to ask the audience, like, think about that too when you are considering buying or building. Think about your end goal. Is this a technology you want to sell, or is this a technology that someone else can do for you? And do the costs. Think about how much it'll take you, how long it'll take you if you have to hire someone. Yeah.
Also, one thing to consider is that, like, if you use a third party, they will probably be better at it than you are. Like, if you use PlayFab as a service, they're doing this all the time. They have specialists for it. If we would do this, we would probably maybe even fail with it or be very, very slow with it.
For you guys, are these pretty much company-wide decisions, or are these decisions that you revisit every time you're making a game?
So for us, we try to do it company-wide, but in the end, if it makes sense for the new game to have another technology, we will do it. So it's not like it's completely not like we make one decision and then keep it forever. And I mean, you need to pay per game, so if you can go cheaper with something else on the other game.
So at the beginning of the talk, I mentioned that we wanted to cut down on our reiteration cycle, and that's simply because we do want to reiterate, but we want to do it in a methodical approach. So not like every month we have to reiterate and change everything, but from game to game, we can look at our infrastructure that we've already built, and then decide from there: should we go back and redo that? What worked for us? What didn't work for us? And do like a post-mortem analysis and understand what we could do better.
So, does anyone have any questions on kind of that infrastructure building part of the game journey? Because that's a part that can soak up a ton of time and a ton of money. And I want to make sure you guys get a good chance to ask questions to the panel if we haven't adjusted that already. Some of you guys are actually starting to build a brand. I mean, a good example, I guess, is Andre. I wouldn't expect a first-person shooter to come from your company.
Yeah, we're making mostly puzzle games,
yeah.
Casual games.
So you're developing this brand that your game company is known for. How many good ideas do you guys actually turn down because it doesn't fit what your brand is?
A lot, yeah. We have a lot of ideas. We have, for example, we tried it with a casino game, but we dropped out a few months ago. Yes. We are trying to expand our horizons, looking for new kinds of games. And we haven't been very successful with that, so we're sticking with puzzle games.
Carina, you've got one game out on Steam right now. Do you want to start building a brand that people can identify with? Or if you want more flexibility, how are you going to approach what you do next?
That's a great question. So our brand is Crash Wave Games, and we're looking to hit the mid-core. So between casual to hardcore. We want our game to be accessible to all ages, but probably dominantly 18 to 36. And we'd like our game to be accessible through mobile and PC, but starting with PC because we like early access and we think that's a good experience for us. But going with the mid-core, it's really important for our game to have a casual look and feel, almost like a cartoon-like look, but have a very serious, a deep, complex undertone. So for us moving forward, I think we like the strategy genre right now, but we could easily take that to a narrative approach too. And I guess it's just really whatever tickles our fancies at the time.
So I like your description of mid-core game with very cartoon-like graphics. Did the thought of globalization or going into global markets impact any of those decisions?
Yes, we looked around in Europe a little bit, and we looked around in Asia, and we're right now predominantly in North America, and we're, Japan's just kind of a mess right now, and I don't really know how to do an in-depth analysis report on this right now, but yeah, we're looking at something a bit more laid back and casual, and we think that appeals to the new era of gamers. So we understand that right now the gamers are more mature, but we are going to be accepting kids are coming onto our platform, so we need to be prepared for that, and that's why we chose that more laid back, casual kind of look and feel, but still appeals to the hardcore, mature gamers who want that in depth, more than 5 minutes of play.
So building to brand, Idle Miners, your brand. How are you gonna manage that?
So for us, the first thing is that we are completely into idle games. So we're not going to do a casual game because I think we're just too bad at it and we won't be successful. We're also not doing some strategy, hardcore stuff. And the hard part is actually to decide, should our next game have the same feel and look, or should it maybe be some IP-based game or something different? For now, we believe that it's better to have a similar look, similar audience, and maybe reuse some of the characters, some of the assets to give the players the same feeling, to give the players feeling they are actually in an ecosystem of the same company.
Ecosystem of idle clippers?
Yeah.
What do you do with all the great ideas that you turn down now?
Yeah, it's really hard. If you have a good team, you have so many ideas, you have so many people that want to do new games, that want to try something new. On the other hand, obviously you can't always try something new, but you need to find a sweet spot between having a new mechanic into the game, but also having some mechanics that are proven. And yeah, sometimes it's hard, if you need to tell your game designer that we can't do this because we believe it's too risky, although he really likes the idea. But yeah, we also need to earn some money to pay the bills, so...
Well, in the case of Puzzlerama, for example, we took all the games that mechanically were already proven to be successful.
So actually, in that case, the paper and pencil equivalent of popular games is really kind of a guideline, a good guideline for what you will and won't pursue digitally.
Yes,
that makes sense. Anything else to add?
Yeah, actually, for me and the Tatem games, if you look at our portfolio, we started first Ares game. It was casual racing game, very very simple, very fun to play. We also have match 3 games. We have action games. We have simulation management games. So I would say that for us, I personally don't consider that we need to be, at least for now, we need to be focused on some genre or some type of game, and we definitely had some. We killed a lot of prototypes, not because it was not fit to our brand, just because it was very hard for us to implement, or the prototype didn't prove that the game can be green-lighted for the production. And I would say in our company motto is like fun and innovation to your digital life, which means that every game we will build and we will develop should bring fun, a bit of innovation in any kind of digital life. Because for now we have a mobile games. My previous experience with the PC games, and I have a catalog of PC shooter games I will bring to Steam and even the console. So for me, that the company as a business, should have the goals from different type of games if possible.
Igor, who gets to decide? I mean, who in your company decides it's fun, but it's not innovative, it doesn't go? I mean, how big of a role does the marketing team play in your game development, game design process?
Well, it's like the decisions. So the final decision, if we develop this game, sometimes I take this decision because I'm the company owner and the CEO of the company, and it is very important decisions. But I wouldn't say that the marketing influence at the beginning. We definitely talk to the marketing guys in terms of how we're gonna position this game, how it's gonna be easy to promote the game, if we use different other methods rather than user acquisition. But even if we consider UA, at the early beginning, I'm trying to understand, and the team, even the game designers, try to understand what the audience would be for this game, how we're going to acquire users, who we're going to compete in marketing perspective. And then we make adjustments into our, probably even sometimes game design, visual design.
Are you actually trying this on Facebook ads? Like, what you can do is like just create Facebook ads with the ideas of your game, and then figure out which ad performs best, and then get like a market guideline on what to do next.
Well, so we don't do this approach like what to do next, because we always have a bunch of different ideas what to do next. The main idea, the main decision, what we will pick up and what we're going to develop. For example, we previously had experience with puzzle games, and a few years ago we started to build Match 3 game. Match 3 games are very, very popular right now for the last many years, and we built a prototype. We had a process as we discussed before. So we had a page describing all of the elements, monetization, etc., etc. We talked to the marketing, how we're going to promote, what the audience could be. And then when we built the prototype, we took a decision to stop the development because our game designers were not very strong in building this type of games. And for me, it was the sign that it's not our game. It's not a good time for us to start building this. In terms of, by the way, the Facebook approach, I know that the different companies, before even start do the development, they created the promo art. They starting the Facebook campaigns, and they determine which art design works best, and then they took this art design as as a mark for the game development.
Okay, so Andre, you and your brother, do you have a marketing team, or do you just kind of get together and decide, well, of course, this is what we're going to do?
No, we don't have a marketing team. We two, me and my brother, are the ones who make most of the work. We use a lot of advanced search optimizations to localize, to help our games to be visible on the market, but we don't do a lot of marketing.
So back to you, Carina. Again, with a small company, does everyone kind of participate in marketing, or you're the boss? Have you hired a CMO yet?
That's a great question too. So we're still learning about marketing, and we know that we're not industry experts on what to do right now. So we did outsource a bit of marketing and PR just to get us started, and we believe that we can pick up the pieces where we need to, and go from there.
Sounds good. Now, I touched just a little earlier on with the artistic and game intensity that you've chosen, it could be really easy for you to slot into an Asian market with those design choices. How have the rest of you thought about potentially going global? Was that something that, oh, hey, we're making money on this, maybe we should think about that now? Or was that in kind of ground zero of game design?
For us, we were starting to think about monetization just from the beginning. So for sure, monetization, I would say it's step 2, because step 1 is engagement. So if you can engage your users, if they come back to your game and they will play as long as possible and they will love your game, then it's going to be more easy for you to monetize and to get paid. Otherwise, you just think about monetizing 0 users or a couple of users.
Yeah. Interesting. I guess puzzles and games are puzzles and games everywhere. And idle clickers, do you have a really easy way to reskin them so that they're appealing? And how easy or hard is it for clickers?
So what we can see is that we're very successful in the US. We're also very successful like in Europe and all the Western markets. But for Asia, it's really hard for us. And we're thinking about like working with some partner there and maybe reskinning a little bit, optimizing it for Asia. But actually, we decided for the time being to not focus on that because it's so much work to adjust your game to different markets and to just focus on what we're good at, the Western market, and rather increase our revenue there.
But
yeah.
you already localized the game for the Asian market?
Yeah, I mean, it's localized for the Asian market, and we have some users there, but it's by far not as successful there as in the US, for example. So, I mean, doing translations, it's like a basic step, and it's probably worth it if you have like a few thousand players in those countries. But doing actually like localization of your game, like changing the art assets for different countries, or even if you consider China, actually going into Android on China, where you need a local partner, and it's like so much work to do, and even then you don't know if it will actually work.
Have you ever seen to any so I look a lot in Sensor Tower, for example, in the different countries, what type of games are in free and what type of games in top grossing, and actually that really can help you or help us to understand what the chances for us to be there. Because if the users will like, for example, gym game, if Chinese users like fitness, I would say less than in US. But for us, even if we talk about the new game design approach, or I mean the new products we want to develop, we use Sensor Tower a lot to understand what the different games are in different countries and how we gonna position ourselves there.
Are you also focused on the Western market, or are you also successful like in Asia?
We're not successful in Asia, unfortunately. We launched the game recently, and in Android, we saw that during a couple of weeks, the users from China, it was like 150,000 downloads. I said, well, it's Google Play. How they get this version? Did we get something in terms of revenue? No, it was because the game was illegally, placed somewhere, and no, we're not successful.
Thank you very much for your time today. I have now completely run us out of time. But I certainly hope you guys have enjoyed this. And thank you to our panel of game company CEOs. Guys, that was fantastic.
Thanks.